Today we're going to rank the most addictive video games using science. We will rank 20 of your favorite games from F tier, the least addictive, to S tier, the most addictive. These games will be different than last time and include some of your most requested titles. We all have that game we just couldn't stop playing. But have you ever wondered why? Well, by the end of this video, you'll see exactly how some games are engineered not just to entertain you, but to control you. And I'll tell you more about the science as we go along. But for now, let's get to ranking our first two games, the Battle Royale giants Apex Legends and PUBG. You're in the final circle. Heart is pounding. There are only 3 squads left. The zone is closing in. You line up that perfect shot, boom, headshot. The adrenaline rush is intense. But what makes these games so addictive? Let's break down the 5 categories that we're using to rate every game today. First, social features. How much does the game push you to play with others? Squad-based gameplay means you're often teaming up with friends, creating social obligation. We need a fourth, or just one more game becomes the mantra that keeps you playing well past midnight. Second, gambling-like features. Think loot boxes, collectibles, random rewards, and chance-based systems. Battle Royales are built on randomness. Each match, the loot you find is randomized. Drop locations vary, and enemy encounters are unpredictable. Apex also includes literal loot boxes with their Apex packs, introducing direct gambling mechanics for cosmetics. But PUBG takes this further with its Steam marketplace. One gamer I worked with was heavily addicted to spending money in PUBG. In fact, he would spend his entire monthly paycheck totaling many thousands of dollars per month just on skins. Third, personal investment. This looks at daily login rewards, time pressure, progression systems, and financial investment. Both games employ progression systems designed for longer-term engagement. Apex's clever system lets you earn enough currency to rebuy the next pass, creating a self-sustaining loop. And PUBG ties progression to survival times and kills, incentivizing endless play. Its Battle Pass system teases rare items, but often requires real money, fostering a sunk cost fallacy. Fourth, accessibility. How easy is it to play anytime, anywhere? Both games are free to play, with PUBG available on mobile and everywhere else. They are also available on multiple platforms and designed for quick entry. And since most games are a short 20 minutes, it's easy to justify queuing up for one more round, either to avenge a loss or to continue a winning streak. Finally, world design. This examines realism, grinding mechanics, and exploration systems. The shrinking zones, high-stakes survival elements, and varied terrain create constant tension. Particularly in Apex, the movement mechanics become addictive in themselves. The sliding, wall jumping, and character abilities create a flow state that players chase. I had one client who admitted he played for hours just to practice his movement, completely ignoring the actual objective of the game. Apex's rotating maps and Evo shields create meta progression, rewarding repeat play more than PUBG's static terrain. Adding it all up, Apex Legends and PUBG both land in A tier, but with some very crucial differences. PUBG's monetization is more predatory, with some progressive skins requiring over $2,000 to fully upgrade. Its unregulated Steam marketplace enables higher financial risk than Apex's controlled loot box system. While these battle royales combine social pressure, gambling psychology, and progression systems, they stop short of S tier because their engagement remains primarily tied to the gaming experience itself. However, they can still cause serious problems. So watch carefully as we climb this list, because you're going to witness how game developers evolve from creating basic games to developing sophisticated addiction machines. And I promise you, once we reach S tier, your perspective on gaming will be changed forever. Now, you might be wondering why we chose these 5 categories. Well, in 2024, I worked with researchers at the University of Calgary on a groundbreaking study. We wanted to answer one question: can we actually measure how addictive a video game is? And that's exactly what we did. We created a scientific way to measure the addiction potential of a video game. So while Battle Royales hook you with short, intense experiences, this next game creates a world you can get lost in for hours. Yet its addiction rating might surprise you. Winds howling. That gentle rumble of thunder echoes as you ride Roach through the swamps of Valin. The sun sets, and you know drowners will appear soon. But you spot a question mark on your map just beyond that hill. I'll just check one last location, you tell yourself. The Witcher 3 captivates players differently than our battle royales. So how addictive is Geralt's adventure when we apply our scientific framework? First, social features. As a single-player RPG, there's no multiplayer pressure keeping you logged in. No guild expecting you for raid night. No friends waiting in the lobby. You play entirely at your own pace. However, the game's rich story excels at fostering parasocial engagement. You genuinely care what happens to Yennefer, Triss, Ciri, and even side characters like the Bloody Baron. The moral complexity of quests like deciding the fate of the Baron's family creates emotional investment that keeps players immersed long after they log off. Second, gambling-like features. The Witcher 3 is refreshingly clean here. No loot boxes, no battle pass, no microtransactions. Though, ironically, many players develop a legitimate addiction to Gwent, the in-game card game. As one player shared online, I am one with the board. Third, personal investment. This is where Witcher 3 hooks you through pure quality and narrative investment. The game doesn't force daily login rewards or time-gated content. Instead, it pulls you in with masterful storytelling. You make choices that affect the world, and you genuinely want to see the consequences. Each quest pulls you in deeper. The map filled with question marks creates that completionist itch that can turn a 20-minute session into a 5-hour binge. Fourth, accessibility. Available on virtually every platform with difficulty settings that welcome both casual and hardcore players. The Witcher 3 is highly accessible. The game respects your time since you can save almost anywhere and return later. However, its system's depth, alchemy, crafting, and inventory management can overwhelm new players while rewarding those who invest time to master them. Finally, world design. This is The Witcher 3's masterstroke. Unlike many open world games with repetitive fetch quests, almost every side quest tells a compelling mini-story with moral choices and unexpected twists. So you rarely go more than a minute or two without discovering something interesting. A monster contract, a hidden treasure, a village in distress. However, some players note completionist fatigue caused by an abundance of question marks on the map and cluttered inventory systems filled with useless junk. Taking all this into account, The Witcher 3 lands in C tier. Its hooks stem from narrative brilliance rather than manipulative mechanics like FOMO or gambling psychology. While its storytelling captivates players for hours on end, it avoids trapping them in endless engagement loops or monetization schemes designed to exploit their vulnerabilities. So I'm curious, what is it that draws you to gaming? Is it just for the story, the competition, or the friends? Or is it because you can't stop playing? So before we dive into our next game, I want to invite you to consider your own gaming habits. Are you just having fun? Or might there be signs of a problem? You can do this by taking my quick 9-question video game addiction quiz to find out. You can click the link in the description to do it. Not only will you get a clear picture of where you stand, but you'll also get specific tips depending on your level of addiction to help you regain control. To take the test, click the link in the description. It might be the most important gaming decision that you make today. Now, while these first games might cost you some sleep and time, the addiction potential is primarily tied to quality gameplay rather than manipulation. But as we continue up our list, we'll see how game design evolved from entertainment to engineering dependency. And this next game creates addiction through something primal, the thrill of the hunt. 50 minutes remain. You enter the ancient forest tracking the elusive Rathalos. Your charge blade at the ready. Potions hotkey. Suddenly that iconic roar echoes through the trees. Your palms sweat as the massive wyvern descends. This hunt marks your 15th attempt. You need just one more ruby to complete your fire-resistant gear set. Will this be the run? Monster Hunter creates a completely different addiction loop than The Witcher's narrative brilliance, relying on mastery, camaraderie, and progression systems to keep players engaged. When a friend messages need help with Nergigante, you're likely joining that hunt even if you were about to log off. The community culture of veterans helping newcomers creates a positive social environment that keeps players returning. However, unlike MMOs, you can play the entire game solo if you prefer. The social aspect enhances your experience rather than defines it. Now, as a veteran, you're optimizing your grind with strategies like farming event quests like the Greatest Jogress, which vomits up 30 face stones in 5 minutes, or weekly gold Wyverian tickets to guarantee 1 gem. A mercy for the luckless, but only once per week, creating a deliberate throttle on progress. Monster Hunter demands serious skill development. Each of the 14 weapon types play an entirely different game, from mastering charge blade combos to perfecting long sword counters. Mastering just one could take dozens of hours, and players often sink 500 plus hours into a single title, progressing from struggling with Great Jogras to slaying elder dragons like Fatalis. Now, modern Monster Hunter games like World and Wilds have dramatically improved the series' accessibility through better tutorials, streamlined quality of life features like shorter hunts, and auto-gather mechanics. Now, these changes lower barriers for newcomers while maintaining the depth that veterans love. The Monster Hunter universe is crafted as a living ecosystem. Monsters fight each other and have territories. The immersive world design makes each hunt feel like a genuine adventure rather than just another boss fight. When we analyze Monster Hunter through our scientific framework, it lands in B tier. What makes Monster Hunter so compelling is how the thrill of the hunt itself is enough to keep players coming back for hundreds of hours. But it's your choice rather than an obligation. So let's take a moment to understand what these tiers actually mean. C tier games like The Witcher 3 create engagement through crafted experiences with natural endpoints. You play because you genuinely want to. Now, B tier games like Monster Hunter add progression systems and variable rewards that extend playtime significantly. The core loop becomes mildly addictive, but it's still your choice. Now, A tier games like Apex begin incorporating deliberate psychological triggers, social pressure, daily rewards, fear of missing out. The line between want to play and feel compelled to play begins to blur. And we haven't even reached S tier games yet. Games scientifically engineered to become second lives, rather than mere entertainment. So with this framework in mind, let's continue with our next game. I can't stop thinking about its ending. That's what countless players said after finishing The Last of Us Part 2. Not because the game was designed to hook them into an endless loop, but because its story left such a profound emotional scar, one that lingers long after the credits roll. After exploring games built to consume thousands of hours, let's examine something different. A linear, narrative-driven experience that defiantly ends. Unlike Apex or Monster Hunter, The Last of Us has zero social mechanics or FOMO systems. It's just you and the story of Ellie and Abby. While players discuss the game passionately in forums and social media, that happens outside the game. There's no guild to disappoint or daily login bonus to chase. The game's power lies in its narrative brutality. You play not to grind, but to survive a harrowing journey of revenge, guilt, and fractured humanity. As Naughty Dog's narrative lead Haley Gross explained, the story forces players to confront their own capacity for empathy. We hold a mirror up to your face and ask you to sit with discomfort. This creates a binge effect similar to a page-turner novel or compelling TV series. But once completed, there's a sense of satisfaction rather than a nagging urge to continue grinding. However, as a PlayStation exclusive, the game limits its physical accessibility. And more importantly, the game's heavy narrative focus means it's not designed for quick sessions. You can't really meaningfully engage with it in a short burst like you can with Apex or Monster Hunter. It demands a more dedicated play session. Now, although it's beautifully designed, The Last of Us Part 2's world is fundamentally linear. The environment serves the story rather than tries to keep you playing indefinitely. The world has a beginning, a middle, and a definitive end. Adding all these factors together, The Last of Us Part 2 lands firmly in F tier. And this is where our research reveals something really important. Being F tier doesn't mean the game is bad. Actually, quite the opposite. The Last of Us Part 2 won countless Game of the Year awards precisely because it prioritizes artistic integrity over addiction. Yet the game's impact reveals a paradox. Its lack of addictive design doesn't diminish player retention. Fans dissected its themes for years, proving that narrative potency can rival any Skinner box. But now let's return to the other end of the spectrum with a game whose very design is built around being chronically online, where the fear of losing everything you've built will literally wake you up in the middle of the night in a panic. It's 3 a.m. Your phone buzzes. We're getting raided. Get online now. Your heart races as you stumble out of bed and boot up your PC. The base you spent 30 hours building this week is under attack. Sleep can wait. Your digital home can't. This isn't some fictional scenario. It's the reality for thousands of Rust players, where The Last of Us Part 2 crafts a contained emotional story. Rust creates something more primal. Unlike our previous games, Rust's entire experience revolves around social interaction, both cooperation and conflict. Your survival depends on alliances forged and enemies made. Voice chat lets you negotiate, intimidate, or deceive other players in real time. The clan system creates powerful social obligation. When your teammates need help defending against raiders at midnight, the pressure to log on is high. As one player put it, it's essentially Lord of the Flies as a video game, where the most compelling content comes from the unpredictable human drama unfolding on each server. Now, when it comes to gambling, Rust actually contains literal gambling with its in-game casino at Bandit Camp. But the entire gameplay loop is gambling by design. Every time you venture out of your base, you're betting your gear against the possibility of greater rewards. The dopamine rush of successfully raiding another base and finding a jackpot of resources mirrors slot machine psychology perfectly. On the flip side, the fear of losing everything creates a compulsive need to check in. Starting with nothing but a rock and building up to a fortress creates immense psychological investment. Players sink thousands of hours into Rust, defending their digital domains with a dedication that often surpasses their real-life responsibilities. The ego element is powerful too. Proving yourself in this harsh environment becomes tied to your self-worth. Even when servers wipe and progress resets, players eagerly start the cycle again, trapped in an endless loop of build, defend, lose, and repeat. And Rust has a steep initial learning curve. But once past that hurdle, it's designed for constant engagement. The game runs 24/7. And crucially, your base exists even when you're offline. It's creating that persistent pull to log in and check on your assets. Sessions can range from quick farming runs to all-night raid defenses. The game deliberately rewards those who invest more time with stronger bases and better gear, incentivizing longer play. Rust Island is deliberately crafted to create maximum tension. The unpredictability of player encounters means every expedition carries risk and excitement. The persistent world ensures your actions have lasting consequences. Now, analyzing all these factors through our scientific framework, Rust lands firmly in A tier. What makes Rust particularly concerning is how it normalizes unhealthy behaviors. Players regularly sacrifice sleep, work, and relationships to protect their assets. The emotional roller coaster of epic victories and devastating losses also creates an intensity that's difficult to walk away from. So while Monster Hunter relies on the thrill of the hunt, Rust leverages something even more fundamental: our tribal instincts and fear of loss. Notice how we are now crossing a crucial threshold in our addiction scale. The games we've analyzed so far primarily hook you through quality gameplay and social connections, but games like Rust and the next group of titles we will dive into begin employing more deliberate psychological techniques that create not just interest, but dependency. They don't just take your time, they reshape your priorities, your schedule, and eventually your identity. So pay close attention to how these mechanics become increasingly sophisticated. And also, I'm curious, have you ever received that late night message? That urgent call to defend a base or join a raid when you should be sleeping? Maybe you've been the one sending those messages. Take a moment and think about how your gaming has affected your sleep schedule. Have you ever chosen another queue over more rest? Because understanding how gaming is affecting your life is one of the most important reflections you can have today. So now let's talk about one of the most requested games from my previous video, Rocket League. What a save! What a save! What a save! Chat disabled for 3 seconds. Rocket League creates a different kind of social engagement than the games we've discussed so far. Matches are short, just about 5 minutes, and teams are small, typically 2v2 or 3v3. While not as intensely social as Rust's alliances, there's still a powerful pull when playing with friends. The desire to not let your teammates down and the massive esports scene fuels social and competitive motivation. Now, when it comes to gambling, Rocket League previously used loot crates that players could purchase keys for, a direct gambling mechanism. They've since moved to a blueprint system and rotating item shop, which still use FOMO-driven tactics like limited time offers to encourage purchases. While less random than loot boxes, these systems create urgency and pressure to spend. And every match risks your precious MMR, creating a gambler's mindset. Lose a match, you feel compelled to queue again to win back those points, just like doubling down after losing a bet. Win a match, the dopamine hit pushes you to try for another victory. This streaky nature of play leads to the classic one more match syndrome. Now, Rocket League's skill ceiling is extremely high. Learning to hit the ball consistently evolves into mastering aerial maneuvers, wall shots, and complex team rotations. This skill progression creates a powerful investment loop. You can always see yourself improving. Your rank from bronze to supersonic legend becomes a part of your identity. And add in the collection of car customizations that express your personality, and you have a recipe for thousands of hours of engagement. And this is where Rocket League truly shines. The concept is immediately understandable. Soccer with cars. It's available on every platform and went free to play to remove any financial barriers. Matches take just minutes, making it seem like the perfect quick gaming fix. The variety of casual and competitive modes ensures there's always a satisfying way to play, regardless of your mood or your skill level. Unlike our previous games, Rocket League doesn't feature expansive worlds to explore. The world consists of standardized arenas with different visual themes: space, underworld, neon-lit cities. This consistency is by design, focusing players entirely on the physics-based gameplay rather than exploration. The core gameplay loop is polished to perfection. The satisfying thump of hitting the ball, the roar when you score, the flashy goal explosions all provide constant positive feedback. The seasonal rank reset creates fresh motivation to climb the ladder again, with limited time events and new car models. These bring players back regularly. When we analyze Rocket League through our scientific framework, it lands in B tier. Rocket League is another example of a game that primarily hooks players through the gameplay rather than manipulative mechanics. The game doesn't need an endless gear treadmill or daily rewards. The inherent fun of the sport-like competition is enough to keep players coming back for thousands of hours. Tap, tap, tap. You're at your honing station again. Your heart is racing as the percentage counter appears. 15% chance of success. You've spent days gathering these materials. Your guildmates are all waiting. If this upgrade succeeds, you'll finally hit the item level for the new raid. Deep breath, click. The animation plays. Red explosion. Honing failed. In any normal game, this would be devastating. But in Lost Ark, you're already planning on how to try again tomorrow, and maybe opening up your wallet this time to speed things up. So let's break down why Lost Ark earns its reputation as one of gaming's most addictive experiences. Unlike The Witcher 3's solo adventure, Lost Ark is built around constant social engagement. Guilds, raid groups, and a bustling economy create powerful obligations. Miss your daily chaos dungeons, and you're letting your team down. Fall behind on item level, and you might lose your raid spot. Guild systems further increase this pressure by tying participation to collective rewards like bloodstones, which are essential for guild upgrades and individual benefits. The game deliberately creates social pressure to log in daily. This is where Lost Ark truly becomes insidious. The entire endgame revolves around the honing system, a literal slot machine for gear upgrades. Each attempt has a percentage chance to succeed, with failures wasting valuable materials that are limited by daily and weekly activities. For example, upgrading gear from plus 14 to plus 15 has only a 40% chance of success, even after investing significant resources. But when that rare success hits, the rush is incredible. As one player described it, in Lost Ark, you put currency in and pull the lever for a random chance of upgrade, and you can do it as long as you have real money. The game's monetization heavily incentivizes spending through its in-game shop, where players can purchase materials to bypass time-gated content. This creates a pay-to-win dynamic, allowing those who spend real money to progress faster and dominate competitive content. This direct connection between real money and in-game gambling creates the same psychological hooks as casino games. Now, Lost Ark demands extraordinary time commitment. Daily tasks across multiple alt characters are essential for gathering enough materials to progress your main character's gear. The game is literally designed to become your second job, with progression systems that could take years to complete. And as a free-to-play title, anyone can download and start playing the game immediately. The early game eases you in with flashy abilities and constant rewards. But the real hook is how the game bridges your entire day. You can plan your character on your phone during lunch, discuss strategies with guildmates on Discord during work, and then log in for just an hour that inevitably stretches to more. Lost Ark's world is deliberately crafted for addiction. Every element, from the satisfying sound effects when landing hits to the visual spectacle of abilities, provides constant stimulation. Islands, continents, and dungeons offer endless exploration. But unlike The Witcher's world, which respectfully ends, Lost Ark's is infinite by design. There's always another tier, another class, another collection to complete. When we run Lost Ark through our framework, it lands firmly in S tier. What makes it particularly dangerous is how it combines every addiction mechanism we've studied. One player described it perfectly. Lost Ark is like addictive drugs. It eats at your dreams and your waking thoughts. The game doesn't just want your time or money, it wants your mind. Now that we've examined our first S tier game, the difference between addiction tiers becomes more clear. What separates S tier games from the rest? While A tier games like Rust employ powerful psychological hooks, they typically focus on a few key addiction mechanisms, perhaps social obligation or achievement systems. S tier games like Lost Ark deploy the entire arsenal. They combine social pressure, variable rewards, sunk cost psychology, artificial scarcity, and constant engagement prompts into a comprehensive system that doesn't just compete for your time, it competes with your actual life. These games aren't just played, they're lived. They don't just want your attention, they want your identity. And as we'll see with the next S-tier examples, the psychological engineering only gets more sophisticated from here. So now we're entering the most dangerous territory in our addiction rankings. The games we've covered so far might cost you time or create unhealthy habits, but the ones coming up, they're literally changing people's lives. And not always for the better. Now remember, by the end of this video, I'll reveal the single most effective addiction machine ever created in gaming. A game so perfectly engineered to consume your attention that former players have had to work with me to finally break free from it. And I'll show you exactly how it works. But I'm curious, drop a comment letting me know which game you think will claim the top spot. What is the most addictive video game ever created in your mind? Is it something you play? We'll get there soon. But for now, let's continue our journey with a game that looks simple on the surface, but hides a surprising addiction mechanic. Just one more ore, just one more boss, just one more treasure chest. Let's explore the deceptively simple yet endlessly addictive 2D sandbox known as Terraria. You begin with nothing but a copper pickaxe, digging your first dirt shelter as the sun sets and zombies begin to pound at your door. Hours later, you're soaring through the sky with mechanical wings, wielding a sword that shoots laser cats as you prepare to battle a mechanical worm the size of the screen. How did this happen? And how did morning arrive in the real world? While Terraria can be enjoyed solo, its multiplayer mode significantly amplifies its addiction potential. Up to 8 players, or more with mods, can inhabit a single world, and fighting the wall of flesh becomes a commitment you don't want to miss. Even when playing alone, the active community sharing elaborate builds on forums creates indirect social pressure to progress. However, multiplayer pacing can create mismatched experiences. Some players rush progression by farming resources or defeating bosses quickly, leaving others struggling to keep up or missing key content. Terraria's progression is built around randomized drops and discoveries. That slime staff, a 1 in 10,000 chance from any slime. While reforging allows players to optimize their gear, its randomness often leads to frustration as players burn through gold without achieving any desired stats. These create the same psychological rush as a slot machine when rare items finally appear. Now, few games create a sense of ownership like Terraria. Every block you place, every tunnel you dig, permanently transforms your world, and players develop deep attachment to their creations. Conquering bosses permanently transforms your world, and entering hard mode after defeating the wall of flesh completely reshapes the environment with new ores, enemies, and biomes. And since it's available on virtually every platform with reasonable hardware requirements, its 2D pixel art style is approachable yet charming. The gameplay accommodates both short sessions and marathon binges. You can accomplish something meaningfully in 20 minutes or lose an entire weekend to a building project. Difficulty modes like hardcore introduce permadeath mechanics for road-like enthusiasts, while easier modes allow for a more relaxed exploration and creativity. And regular updates keep the game fresh. Its generated worlds create endless variety and wonder, compelling you to dig deeper into underground jungles, glowing mushroom caverns, and eventually the nightmarish underworld. When analyzed through our scientific framework, Terraria lands solidly in B tier. That's because its hooks come purely from freedom, accomplishment, and discovery. Terraria doesn't explicitly tell you what to do next. It just makes you want to find out. But now let's look at a game that immerses you in the gritty, realistic medieval world of 15th century Bohemia. It's taken you 30 minutes just to pick this lock. Your fingers are cramping from the complex controller inputs. You failed 7 times already, breaking lockpicks you spent hours earning money to buy. This time you feel the tumbler click into place. The chest opens, revealing a loaf of stale bread and 3 coins. And somehow, you feel immensely satisfied. After exploring Terraria's accessible block building addiction, let's shift our lens entirely. Kingdom Come: Deliverance stands as an example of gaming's deliberate rejection of addiction mechanics. A medieval RPG that swims against the current of modern game design by prioritizing historical accuracy and challenge over convenience and dopamine hits. So let's look at a few of the specific design choices that make this game less addictive. The first choice is rejecting social pressure. While our A and S tier games weaponize social obligation to keep you logged in, Kingdom Come is strictly single player with 0 multiplayer components. No guilds expecting your participation, no friends waiting in lobbies, no leaderboards tracking your progress against others. You can take a month-long break and return to Bohemia exactly as you left it. No penalties, no missed events, and no social status lost. The second choice is earning progress instead of random rewards. Where games like Lost Ark and Monster Hunter use variable reward schedules to trigger gambling-like compulsion, Kingdom Come demands genuine effort. You begin as a peasant who can barely hold a sword, and improving requires patient dedication. Training for hours with wooden weapons, reading books, which you can't do until Henry learns to read, or practicing alchemy with precision. Even combat isn't designed around random critical hits or lucky drops. It's a technical system based on your actual skill at directional attacks and parrying. The third choice is including defined endpoints over endless engagement. Perhaps most radical by today's standards, Henry's journey has a definitive conclusion. While S-tier games create infinite progression systems designed to trap players in perpetual cycles, Kingdom Come tells its story and then actually ends. There's no artificial endgame, no daily quests that appear after the credits, no seasonal pass or battle pass to keep you grinding indefinitely. However, branching quests and impactful decisions encourage replayability, as players can experience different outcomes based on their choices. Next, the game is deliberately inaccessible. In an era where games compete to be playable in bite-sized sessions anytime and anywhere, Kingdom Come is almost defiantly inaccessible. Saving requires drinking Savior Schnapps, a limited resource in the default mode, though unlimited saving is available in certain difficulty settings or through mods. The combat system demands concentration and practice. This means you can't just pick up the game for a quick 15-minute session and accomplish anything meaningful. Even basic tasks like lockpicking are notoriously difficult. Fast travel exists, but can result in ambushes. All these design choices deliberately prevent the short session engagement loops that make mobile games and live service titles so habit-forming. But knowing that going in creates more intention of when you can actually play, when you actually have time to do it, rather than intending to only play for a few minutes and getting caught in the loop. So speaking of loops, the medieval Bohemian landscape is crafted for historical accuracy. There are no question marks littering the map to compulsively clear, no dungeons for endless grinding, no flashing objective markers constantly pulling you to the next hit. You might spend hours hunting in the woods, but not because the game is manipulating your reward pathway, but because you're genuinely enjoying the authenticity of the experience. The world doesn't constantly refresh with new content. It exists as a coherent, historically grounded setting for Henry's story. So when analyzed through our scientific framework, Kingdom Come, Deliverance lands firmly in F tier. And that's by design. This presents a fascinating counterpoint in our addiction framework. F-tier games like this and The Last of Us Part 2 represent experiences designed to be completed rather than indefinitely consumed, where the contrast with our higher tiers is striking. F-tier games respect your time with natural endpoints. D and C-tier games encourage longer engagement through quality and progression. B-tier games create mild addiction through compelling loops and collection systems. And A-tier games employ deliberate psychological triggers to maintain engagement. And S-tier games construct complete ecosystems designed to replace rather than supplement real life. This spectrum reveals something really important about modern gaming. Addiction potential isn't accidental. It's a deliberate design choice. While our S-tier games employ every psychological trick in the book to keep you playing, Kingdom Come is content to tell its story and let you go when it's done. It's a reminder that games, like all art forms, can engage us without exploiting our vulnerabilities. You tell yourself you'll stop after the next match. It's late. You lost the last game because your team composition was bad. Surely the next one will be different. The hero select music plays as you queue again. And suddenly, you're not tired anymore. So now let's shift to the colorful, chaotic world of team-based hero shooters. Let's talk about Overwatch. Overwatch is built around 5v5 team dynamics where your success is linked to others. The game's distinct hero roles like tank, damage, and support create natural interdependencies. You might not even be playing for yourself anymore, but because your friends expect you to join them every night. The social pressure works both ways. When playing well, you chase the approval of teammates. When playing poorly, you desperately seek redemption in the next match. Now, while Overwatch 2 replaced the original game's loot boxes with a battle pass, the gambling psychology remains embedded in the core gameplay loop. Each match is a roll of the dice. Will you get competent teammates? Will your ultimate ability land at the perfect moment? The uncertainty creates the same psychological pull as a slot machine. Overwatch 2 actually even reintroduced loot boxes in Season 15, obtainable through weekly challenges and events rather than direct purchases. Players frequently find themselves grinding for hours during limited time events, hoping to unlock special cosmetics before they disappear forever, and also develop strong attachments to specific characters, turning "I'm a Tracer main" into their identity. The hundreds of hours spent mastering a hero's nuances create the sunk cost that's difficult to walk away from. Competitive mode elevates this investment. The climb from silver to gold becomes an all-consuming focus. Even if you spent 2,000 hours not making any progress, players find themselves grinding matches, not necessarily because they're enjoying the game, but because they're chasing the status and validation of a higher rank or the golden weapons that come with competitive points. Overwatch strikes a perfect balance between accessibility and depth that maximizes its addiction potential. The colorful, approachable art style and straightforward controls make it easy for newcomers to grasp the basics. Point, shoot, usability. The free-to-play model of Overwatch 2 removed financial barriers, allowing anyone to try it without commitment. Matches last only about 10 to 15 minutes, creating the illusion that the quick game is reasonable. But the short match length combined with instant requeuing makes it easy to fall into multi-hour binges. Available across all platforms with crossplay, Overwatch ensures you can feed your habit whether you're at your desk or on the couch. Now, beyond the gameplay, Blizzard built a transmedia narrative universe through animated shorts, comics, and seasonal events that deepens emotional investment in the hero. Players often return to the game after breaks not just for the gameplay, but to see how the story of their favorite character developed. The steady stream of new heroes, maps, and balance changes ensures the meta constantly evolves, giving players a reason to return and discover what's changed, or for active players to have something new to master. When analyzed through our framework, Overwatch lands firmly in A tier. What makes Overwatch particularly effective at creating addiction is how it combines multiple engagement vectors simultaneously. The social obligation to your team, the variable reward of match outcomes, the personal investment in hero mastery and competitive rank, the accessibility of quick matches, and the constant evolving world create a perfect storm of engagement hooks. And the recently added Hero Mastery mode introduces single-player challenges that test player skills with specific heroes, adding another layer of progression through leaderboard rankings. So let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself saying just one more match in Overwatch or a similar game, only to realize 2 hours later you're still playing? Maybe you've skipped meals or missed appointments or stayed up far too late chasing that win streak or rank up. Now, if you're nodding right now, that's the power of these carefully designed addiction loops at work. But while Overwatch hooks players through fast-paced team action, this next game turns spreadsheets and statistics into one of gaming's most notorious time sinks. While primarily single player, Football Manager has fostered an incredibly passionate community based around the beautiful game of football. The multiplayer mode allows players to compete against friends or other managers and leagues, adding another social dimension. Now, the core gameplay loop mirrors gambling psychology with uncanny precision. While matches involve unpredictability, outcomes are heavily influenced by player decision. You've set up your tactics, selected your team, and now you watch as the game determines the outcome. That unpredictability triggers the same brain response as gambling. Win, and you'll be chasing that high again and again. The transfer market functions similarly. Will that promising young midfielder you've scouted for months turn into a superstar or a flop? Each new signing is a gamble that might pay off spectacularly or set your team back for years. Football Manager's depth of immersion is so profound that the line between the game and reality often blurs. Players develop genuine attachments to virtual footballers they've nurtured from academy prospects to world-class talent. And just one more game phenomenon is so prevalent in Football Manager that it's actually become a meme within the community. This personal investment compounds over time. After spending 300 hours building your club over multiple seasons, walking away feels almost impossible. You've crafted an alternate football history that exists only in your save file, creating a powerful sunk cost that keeps you clicking continue even when you want to stop. Now, Football Manager presents an interesting contradiction in accessibility. Its interface is notoriously complex, with data-heavy screens and numerous management options that can overwhelm newcomers. However, there are many community mods that ease the learning curve, and once past it, the game becomes even more accessible. You don't need quick reflexes or constant attention to play, and you can easily play while watching TV or eating dinner. Unlike action games that demand your full focus, Football Manager can be played in short bursts or marathon sessions. Unlike narrative games that eventually conclude or sandbox games that can grow stale, Football Manager offers a truly endless experience. There's no finishing a save. You can manage a team for over 50 virtual years, watching generations of players come and go. The world continuously regenerates with new youth prospects, evolving tactics, and shifting power dynamics between clubs. The eat, sleep, FM, repeat lifestyle described by many fans shows how this seemingly dry sports simulation can dominate free time with its strategic depth and unpredictable outcome. When analyzed through our scientific framework, Football Manager lands in B tier. What makes Football Manager's addiction potential interesting is its cerebral, slow burn nature. Unlike the immediate, intense dopamine of action games, Football Manager hooks players through a methodical progression that can consume thousands of hours. But while Football Manager consumes fans through its simulation of a beloved sport, this next game takes us to the battlefields of history. You've been grinding for weeks toward that Leopard 2A6 tank. Just a few thousand more research points to go. Your sleep schedule is in shambles, but the crisp, target destroyed sound when your shell penetrates an enemy's armor makes it all worthwhile. Besides, your daily bonus resets in an hour. War Thunder. While the game can be played with friends and squads, its social hooks work differently than team-focused ones like Overwatch. Instead, it builds a unique social identity around the national tech trees players choose. German mains, Soviet enthusiasts, American patriots. Suffering through the grind together builds a weird kind of camaraderie. However, the community is also known for its gatekeeping attitudes, where experienced players often dismiss newcomers with just get good responses, creating a mixed social experience. While in-game communication is often minimal, the out-of-game communities become a significant part of the experience. Squadron battles offer competitive social engagement for dedicated players. But for many, the social addiction comes from the identity of being a War Thunder player, a badge that signifies membership in a community of military vehicle enthusiasts who endure the game's notorious difficulty together. The game incorporates multiple layers of gambling psychology. A progression system functions as a variable reward schedule, while random boosters occasionally multiply your earnings. The game's loot crates, such as war bonds and battle trophies, often require real money keys to open. These crates include rare vehicles, decals, and camouflages, some of which sell for hundreds of dollars, creating a strong pay-to-win dynamic. The game also includes a matchmaking system. Sometimes you're matched against superior up-tiered vehicles, while other times inferior down-tiered ones. War Thunder demands extraordinary personal investment. Each nation has separate progression lines for aircraft, tanks, and naval vessels, with hundreds of vehicles to unlock. Unlike casual games, War Thunder rewards study and practice learning armor penetration mechanics, flight characteristics, and map positioning. This depth transforms the game from mere entertainment into a hobby and skill set that becomes part of players' identities. Military history enthusiasts find themselves inadvertently memorizing specifications of obscure World War II vehicles, blurring the line between gaming and educational interest. The emotional highs of finally unlocking a long-coveted vehicle, or the lows of being destroyed by an unseen enemy, both drive continued play. Celebrate the victory by playing more, or seek revenge by playing again. War Thunder initially presents as highly accessible. It's free to play, available across platforms, and early tier arcade battles are straightforward enough for newcomers. However, the daily reward system and rotating challenges create powerful FOMO, pressuring players to log in every day. Different game modes, arcade, realistic, simulator, ensure players of various skill levels and time commitments can find their niche, widening the potential addiction pool. When analyzed through our scientific framework, War Thunder lands firmly in A tier. That's because War Thunder combines the endless progression of MMOs with the visceral satisfaction of combat simulators, while wrapping it all up in a military history package that appeals to a niche audience. Now, as we approach the pinnacle of our addiction scale, we move beyond games that merely consume time to experiences deliberately engineered to become substitute lives. These final two games represent the most comprehensive addiction systems ever created in gaming. Virtual worlds that don't just compete with reality, but often replace it entirely for vulnerable players. The question isn't whether these games are addictive, but whether they've crossed ethical boundaries in their design. And this next title is engineered with progression systems so demanding that some players literally schedule their lives around it. For many, the game has become a second job. Now, at this point, I want you to honestly assess your gaming habit. Have you ever tracked how much time you actually spend gaming each week? Not just your estimate, but the actual number. Now, most gaming platforms will actually offer this tracking feature, and many players are shocked to discover they're spending 20, 30, even 40 hours a week playing games. That's essentially a full-time job. And these final two games we're about to discuss don't just ask for your time, they demand your life. Welcome to EVE Online. Not just a game, but a second life. In EVE, social engagement reaches unprecedented levels. The entire game operates on a single server where tens of thousands of players share one universe. Corporations, also known as guilds, aren't casual groupings. They're complex organizations with hierarchies and politics. EVE isn't just a game you play, it's a society you join. In other games, if you don't show up, you might let down 4 or 5 teammates. But in EVE, you could be letting down hundreds. While EVE doesn't have traditional loot boxes, its economy functions like a high-stakes casino. Ships represent weeks of effort and significant real value, and when destroyed, they're gone forever. Partial loot mechanics where some destroyed items are dropped as loot while others are permanently lost. Undocking an expensive battleship is effectively placing a bet. You might win a glorious victory, or you might lose everything in seconds. Market speculation functions like a stock market, with players gambling on commodity prices and trying to corner markets. The game's skill system trains in real time, even when online. Veteran players have abilities new players won't unlock for years, incentivizing a continuous subscription, or obtaining a significant amount of in-game currency or using real money. Players maintain spreadsheets, set alarms for operations, and plan skill queues months in advance. New Eden comprises over 7,000 star systems, many controlled entirely by player alliances. Unlike static MMO worlds, EVE's map is constantly changing as corporations wage wars and claim territory. Players don't just experience the world, they shape it, becoming part of EVE's ongoing story. Running EVE Online through our scientific framework, it lands decisively in S tier. What makes EVE uniquely addictive is how it transcends being merely a game to becoming almost a parallel career. Players often joke EVE isn't a game, it's a second job. Except they're not entirely joking. The blend of massive social obligation, real economic stakes, and permanent consequences create hooks that go beyond entertainment into a sense of identity. As one EVE CEO noted, the longer someone plays, the less likely they are to ever leave. Some players have even been active since 2003. But not all S-tier games demand a second career. Our next title managed to combine the open world freedom of a single player experience with the ongoing social engagement of an MMO, creating one of gaming's most popular universes. And this brings us to our final game, a game that has created perhaps gaming's most comprehensive addiction machine. Unlike most games we've examined, GTA Online doesn't just occupy your gaming time. It restructures your entire day around its systems. Los Santos isn't just a map. It's a parallel life with its own economy, social structure, and daily rhythms. As one player described it, it was my life for about a year. It's all escapism. The game will suck you in pretty good if you need the escape and want to forget about your own life and live another one through your character. But this isn't accidental. Rockstar has engineered a comprehensive addiction machine. It combines the social obligation of MMO, the gambling psychology of variable reward, the personal investment of RPGs, the accessibility of mobile games, and the immersive world building of single-player narratives, all in one seamless package. When we analyze GTA Online through our scientific framework, it lands decisively in S tier, perhaps the most complete addiction machine ever created in gaming. The most dangerous aspect isn't any single feature, but how seamlessly they integrate into a comprehensive system that competes not with other games, but with your actual life. Los Santos doesn't just want your attention, it wants to become your identity. And for many players, it already has. So next time you're choosing a game to play, maybe check its addiction tier first. If you found this interesting, drop a comment with which game you're most surprised by. Also, let me know which games you want to see analyzed in part 3. There are plenty more games we need to talk about. If you want to know how I ranked popular games like WoW, Elden Ring, Valorant, Fortnite, League, Roblox, and many others, then watch part 1 here. But what if you don't want to play games anymore? What if you want to focus on other goals, other dreams in life? Then watch this video. Because gaming doesn't just steal your time. It can steal your life. Unless you do one thing, you take it back.